Now, as we are talking about this idea of what might happen with General Conference, can you give us some ideas of real world, on the ground implications for local churches, for annual conferences, for central conferences, and for the general church if there is another delay?
If there is a further delay, we might find a way to engage certain decisions that will help the dust settle so that we can get back to mission and ministry in one sense and help people live out their convictions in another. We all know that real world implications related to the pandemic means that we'll never be able to be what we once were. And frankly, for an old denomination, some of that stuff is going to be hard to let go of. But I like to think that others will be welcome. I mean, will we at some point say something like, do you remember those days when we used to gather large groups of people in one setting for worship? That may be a possibility. I look forward to the day when we can say, thank God above, that we were once and for all able to deal with the sin of racism in a real and responsible manner. Some things are going to be hard to let go of, but some things should be let go of, and I think those things are playing out in real time. Our general agencies, for example, are changing in real time. They're dealing with declining resources. That's inserted a dose of reality into their work, and I applaud our general agencies for not waiting until changes are imposed upon them to deal with things like reduced staff, elimination of budgets, reprioritization of essential ministries. I think it's great, but I do have worries. I'm currently the president of UMCOR, and I personally worry about donor fatigue because of natural disasters and issues of global health that just are not going to fade. Our need to be connectional and supportive of those who need the church's collective resources is a hallmark of who we've been, and I hope always will be. There's some things that I hope don't go away. On a jurisdictional level, I personally hope that the jurisdictional conferences will take advantage of this season in our life by not electing the same number of bishops that we currently have. I mean, we're going to be smaller as a denomination, and we need to spend some time seeing how the dust is going to settle financially, numerically, and missionally before we determine how many bishops and episcopal areas we need in order to fulfill our mission and ministry in the church. And then finally, I'd say this real-time implication has directly affected our local churches, and I personally believe that some of them are not going to make it once this fades. We have for a long time, Kennetha, propped up a system, a posture, and a number of our franchises that's now going to change. And we need to think seriously about our strategic presence in places where Methodism may not survive the changes that we're facing. But that should give us a great opportunity to find freshness in our passion to make disciples. So while the real-time changes are tough, I look upon them pretty positively in terms of how God might be at work in our midst.
If there is a further delay, or if the issues are too complex to deal with in a virtual general conference, how might you begin to envision living into this new church? In particular, I want you to address the whole idea of regionalism.
Well, the world has changed, and contextual ministry is more important than ever. How we deal with ministry in the U.S. is very different than the way in which our African sisters and brothers have to deal with it on the continent. Regionalism is a wave not of the future, it's a wave of our current reality. If we don't contextually address the situations that we're facing, then all of a sudden we become irrelevant. So I don't think it's as complex as what some might make it out to be, because our theology and our practice is relevant in very different contexts. We are not one people. We are a diverse body that have different ways of being reached and have different methods of reaching. And so regionalization is a current reality that I hope the General Conference can catch up to. Rather than waiting for the General Conference to react to it, we're already seeing it lived out. It's a part of our future reality right now.